Welcome to Negotiation, Conflict Resolution, and Peace Building 507, Research Methods and Interpretation. In this presentation, I will cover the reading for Week 1, the learning outcomes on peer-reviewed research, and some practice questions for the final exam. I will describe the first week's reading in alphabetical order. As always, the information on the slide and my narration are likely to resurface on the final exam. The main reason I selected the Albert text was how she organizes the development of a research project into frames. Action research is a strand of research designed to solve pressing problems by researchers within a problem-solving team or as a part of a community of practice. The purpose of action research is to develop new skills or approaches and solve problems with direct application to resolving conflicts. The frames she provides will also work with other research methods such as case study, descriptive, developmental, correlational, or causal comparative research methodologies. The publication manual of the American Sociological Association has some excellent tips for writing along with long stretches of reference material. Some of the important tips for citations include crediting sources, plagiarism, quoting material, and citing references in text. As you learned in the Turnitin orientation, academic papers are checked for appropriate crediting of sources. You may also find more information and examples about citing sources at plagiarism.org. Chapter 7 of the publication manual of APA provides reference examples for periodicals, books, and other reference media. One of the course learning outcomes for NCR 507 is describe the role of peer-reviewed research in the fields of negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. Part of this answer is the peer review process of work for publication. We could also include reviewing each other's conflict resolution processes, interventions, grants, project proposals, business plan, curriculum, negotiation proposals, settlement agreements, and so on. The peer review process for publication can be applied to most other works we create as practitioners. According to the APA publication manual, quote, to ensure the quality of each contribution that the work is original, valid, and significant, scholars in the subspecialties of a field carefully review submitted manuscripts, unquote, page 225. I would add that the electronic technologies such as Turnitin, Originality Check, the Educational Testing Services E-Rater, WriteCheck, and Copyscape are automating the task of screening for originality and the quality of writing. Peer-reviewed journals have editors who are responsible for the content and quality of the research. Some journals use a masked or blind review process, so bias isn't given in favor or against the authors based on their credentials, appointment, or previous scholarship. The scope of peer review isn't limited to periodicals and books. Therefore, I also include a reading on the review process for grant writers. The 20-something pages I assigned from the craft of research are summed up on the checklist for understanding your readers on pages 26 and 27. Understanding your readers is one of the most important concepts in the role of peer review in negotiation, conflict resolution, and peace building. As practitioners, we are often writing for an audience who are critical of bias and are looking for neutrality. Even the role of a mediator is described as an uninterested third party. The peers who review the work of conflict resolution practitioners are often looking for something quite different from a political, ethical, or economic position paper. Our writing must often consider the interest of all disputants. The checklist includes who will read my report, what do they expect of me, how much can I expect them to know already, and how will readers respond to the solutions or answers in my claim. The audience of your research in this course are your peers who are other students in this program. Your audience as a practitioner may vary greatly, from children settling a playground conflict to logicians who scrutinize every word with an encyclopedia of fallacies. The main point is the importance of understanding the audience for your research. I selected the 90 days in success in grant writing because it is the direct opposite of the masked or blind review process. In some forms of writing, the expertise of the writer, all the partnerships, and the extensive needs assessments are the focus of the research. Grant writing research requires extensive knowledge of your capabilities, the capabilities of the organization applying for the grant, and the clients who will benefit from the grant. Grants go through a review process that is quite different than the publication process because the grantors are comparing ideas of each applicant and whether the organization has the capacity to implement their proposal. A similar process must be considered when making proposals to boards, councils, or legislatures for funding. During my 5 years as a board member and 2 years as the president of a local dispute resolution center, a majority of my research focused on securing funds for the center, community needs assessments, and program evaluations. The audience of the research was the United Way, the local colleges, state senators, judges, local county boards of directors, local bar associations, juvenile courts, city councils, and any partner we could get who had some funding that would review the research supporting the needs and effectiveness of conflict resolution programs. Moving beyond the topic of peer-reviewed research and the chapters I have assigned from books to the topic of reviewing the work of peers who have already been through NCR 507. I selected 3 papers that you may use to deconstruct or backwards map to get ideas about what your own research portfolio will look like. I have asked each of these 3 students for permission to post their work as examples, and it has been granted. I selected these for their diversity of topics, quality of instruments, and how they included their complete process as appendices. Brown created instruments to answer the question, how are conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq affecting the young children of deployed service members? Hodges' portfolio was focused on answering the research question, what is the relationship between religious orientation and attitudes towards homosexuality? And Robertson selected the question, what social networking behaviors cause conflict in romantic relationships. Each portfolio has a slightly different organization, as you can see by reading their table of contents. Most importantly, you will notice the researchers never give an answer to their question. The purpose of the portfolio is to review the literature and explore methods to find qualitative, quantitative, and mixed method solution that may be included in a problem-solving process that may lead to a mutually acceptable resolution. You should generate your own research proposal from reviewing how these students grappled with reviewing literature, creating an observation guide, preparing to conduct interviews, designing a survey, and testing their instruments with their peers. I hope you enjoyed this week's reading. I added one additional newspaper article this week from the New York Times that dealt with the restorative justice process. And I thought this was a very good piece that shows neutrality on the part of the reporter who gave extensive interviews to get the perspectives of a restorative justice practitioner, the victim, and the offender in a murder case. I look forward to your comments on these readings on the discussion board.